The topic of my talk today is Roots and Roots, a brief history of Sindh. But Sindhi history is 5,000 years old. How do you encapsulate 5,000 years in 10 minutes? That's impossible. But I would just like to touch on a few important points, a few important trends. So, as all of you know, Sindhi history starts with the Indus Valley civilization, and one of the most striking examples of that was the old city of Mohenjo-daro, Mound of the Dead in Larkana, near Larkana in northern Sindh. Okay. Uh, when I visited it in 2001, I was literally blown away by how advanced the civilization was. I mean, it literally has to be seen to be believed. Now, unfortunately, we don't know for sure who the inhabitants were. We don't know what happened to them, whether we inherited their genes or whether they moved to another part of the subcontinent. But one very significant thing about that civilization, one thing that we do know for sure, is that they were involved in international trade 5,000 years ago. They were trading with Arabia, with Mesopotamia, with Iran, with Central Asia, and that is something that Sindhis have been doing for centuries. So I'll come back to this in a little while. But over the centuries, Sindh has been home to various religions. Now we all know that there was Hinduism in Sindh, okay. But what is not so widely known is that there was also Buddhism in Sindh and Jainism. And in fact, some historians believe that when Muhammad bin Qasim invaded Sindh in 711 CE, the majority of the people were not Hindus but Buddhists at that time. Now, Sindh was the first part of the subcontinent to come under Muslim rule, and it stayed under Muslim rule for 1100 years, from 711 till the 1800s when the British conquered Sindh. Okay. But this was not some monolithic, homogeneous Muslim rule either. Okay. There were various Muslim rulers, various Muslim dynasties, including those, there were some native Sindhi dynasties as well as those who came from outside. And I'm talking about from Afghanistan, from Central Asia, even from Balochistan, and of course the Mughals. So while the Mughal dynasties came and went, and while slowly Sindhi communities or Sindhi tribes converted to Islam, generally in a gentle way, not by the sword, Hindus continued to trade in Sindh. So it was the Hindu merchants who were responsible for the growth of the major cities. So the former capital of Thatta, which was ruled during the time it was ruled by the Mughals, Hindus outnumbered Muslims by 10 to 1, and the trade and commerce was in their hands. Karachi was set up by Hindu merchants. Hyderabad was established by Diwan Giddumal, who was the Hindu minister of a Muslim king. Shikarpur attracted Hindu traders from Punjab, Rajasthan, and Gujarat who came and settled down there and helped make that city flourish. And because these Hindu merchants were so wealthy and influential in these cities, in these prime cities of Sindh, they also had a say in the governance. And again, now we come back to the international trade. These same Hindu merchants were also trading internationally centuries ago. Tattai merchants traded and even settled in Oman and other cities in the Persian Gulf. The Saits of Karachi maintained a trade, generally a maritime trade, with Arabia, Iran, and the Malabar coast. The Shikarpuris expanded into Central Asia with a network that stretched from China to Azerbaijan to Iran. And of course, lastly, the Sindhwarkis, whom we all know, used the British shipping routes to create a business empire from Yokohama to Honolulu, from London to Chile and Australia. And today, after partition, of course, Sindhi traders are found all over the world, in every corner of every continent. And, there's this very common joke that when the first man landed on the moon, he found a Sindhi shop over there. So, Sindh has seen a lot of traders and invaders. It has seen a lot of monks and missionaries, different kinds of religions. And this constant traffic has served to enrich numerous aspects of Sindh, its history, its culture, its language, its religions. And I strongly believe that all this traffic, all this change, all these people coming and going has helped foster a culture of flexibility and acceptance for which Sindh is famous. Now, Sindh has been home to a very rich tradition of Sufism. It has been home to a very relaxed form of Hinduism, a gentle form of Sikhism, and a very lenient form of Islam. You know, and Sufism in Sindh actually is nothing more than humanism, and this is practiced or has been practiced at every level of society in every community. And what is humanism? Humanism is just recognizing the humanity of another human being before we give them any labels. And I think this is something that Sindhis should be greatly proud of. And if Sindhis have a great tradition of flexibility, Sindhi Hindus, who are a minority, and mind you, Sindhi Hindus have been living as a minority for 1300 years, wherever we are, whether we were, even when we were in Sindh, from 711 CE onwards, till today, wherever we are a minority. Okay, and this makes us flexible. We have to adapt to the different cultures of the different language lands that we live in. You know, and this is true of the past. Whether the Thattai, Shikarpuri, Sindhwarki traders had to adapt, it was true even for the Sindhis who migrated here after partition. They had to make a life for themselves, and they brought their culture of hard work and they brought their flexibility to make that happen. They didn't wallow in self pity. They didn't ask for quotas or handouts. They just went about reconstructing their lives quietly with a lot of hard work and a lot of drive. And not only did they resettle themselves, they ended up giving back to the cities that they lived in. They founded schools, colleges, hospitals, you name it. This is something we need to take inspiration from that generation. We cannot say, oh, we are Sindhis, we did that. We didn't do it. That was a different generation, and we need to give credit to them and take inspiration from them. So, Sindhis have done extremely well after partition in India, and they've made their mark in every field, whether it is industry or Bollywood or education or sports or medicine, you name it. There's no field where Sindhis have not made a mark. And please note, Sindhis are less than 1% of the population. We still have because that generation that migrated use their flexibility when they came here as refugees. In the process of adapting over here, in the process of assimilation, they learned local languages. They learned local customs. They and in the bargain, they put their own language and their own literature, their own heritage. It didn't vanish, but it was put on the back burner. Sindhis in India, as they go up the socio-economic ladder, they move from Sindhi to Hindi to English. And they downplay their Sindhi identity. Okay, they become more westernized, more cosmopolitan. And in the bargain, today, so many Sindhis, and I was like this too. Okay, we don't know anything about our history or our language or anything. There was a time when I didn't know Sindhi or I didn't know anything about my past or my culture or anything. Okay. So the irony is that even though Sindhis are a linguistic minority, more and more Sindhis are not familiar with their language. This has then given rise to a cultural vacuum. But then what have we done with that? We've gone back to our flexibility. So many new things have happened that now there is a whole literature that has emerged over the last 2-3 decades of Sindhis writing for their community but in English. There are Sindhis learning Sindhi online. There are Sindhis who are learning the Roman script because they are not familiar with Devanagari. So, and of course, with the internet, you can make phones, reels, anything, and be access people all over the world. So these are remarkable developments, and they just go to show that Sindhi ingenuity, Sindhi flexibility, the Sindhi spirit is very much alive and kicking, and brings us new ways to connect with each other, with our culture, with our heritage. And it helps us not just reinvent our Sindhiyat or our Sindhi identity, it helps us celebrate it. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.